Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. In the blue of the sky and the green of the cricket pitch, whose is the bat which scored 8,032 test runs? And whose is the ball which took 235 test wickets? Yes, he's the man himself. Sir Garfield Sobers, the greatest all-round cricketer to have walked on planet Earth. Born in the tiny island of Barbados, which is only 21 miles long and 14 miles in width, Gary Sobers was born at a time when the population of Barbados was probably only 50,000. And who would have imagined that the son of the soil from Barbados would be a world champion and rule the cricketing world? He started his cricketing career as a teen and played his first test match for the West Indies in 1954. He was primarily picked up as a bowler who could bat and batted at the number 9 position and then was shuffled across the order and finally scored his first test century in his 17th test match, a massive innings of 365 not out against Pakistan at Sabina Park in Kingston, Jamaica. After that, he scored 5 centuries on the trot in 6 test matches and never looked back. He scored a total of 26 centuries in 93 test matches at an average of around 58. His batting prowess and his skills have been well chronicled. As a bowler, I thought he was underrated. He took 235 test wickets at an average of 30 something, and he was an underrated bowler definitely because I thought he was an impact bowler who could bowl under all playing conditions. He could bowl in the overcast conditions in England. He could bowl on the fast and bouncy pitches in Australia and often open the attack with pace. And he could bowl left-arm orthodox and Chinaman on turning tracks in India and also in the West Indies. As a fielder, he was one of the best the game has seen. He's taken more than 100 test catches, and particularly in closing positions, he was brilliant. So you have a guy who was multi-talented and extremely versatile. He was not just a dynamic cricketer, he also was a very flamboyant person with a lot of flair. And I remember during the rest day of test matches, he would often go to the races or play golf while the rest of his teammates were actually resting. Such was his charisma. When he came to India in 1966 as an 8-year-old, when I listened to the commentary, I realized that the main source of attraction was Gary Sobers. He was talked all around, everywhere, on radio, in newspapers, in private conversations. He was a household name. He was an absolute icon in India and later also became an absolutely irreplaceable cricketer all around the cricketing world. He was such an icon for kids all over the world that they wanted to talk like him, they wanted to walk like him, they wanted to act like him. And he graduated from the High School of Cricket and went on to play Ivy League college. And that too during the end of his career when he played for the rest of the world against a very strong Australian team. And I remember he scored 254 runs at Melbourne against an irrepressible and fiery Dennis Lillee, who, as far as I'm concerned, was the greatest all-round fast bowler to have played the game. And Gary was particularly severe on Dennis Lillee. And this innings was described by Donald Bradman as the greatest innings he had ever seen. In recent years, there has been a push to replace Gary Sobers by some ex-test cricketers and make Jack Callis as the greatest all-round cricketer of all time. It is really incomprehensible and just not acceptable. I think Gary Sobers is the greatest ever and will never be replaced anytime in the near future. And make no mistake, Jack Callis is no Gary Sobers. He's a great player and the greatest South African cricketer to have played the game. And his numbers are very similar to Sobers. But imagine when Gary Sobers was at his prime as a batsman, he was way ahead of any other batsman in the game. And as Tony Greig would say, There was Gary Sobers, there was Daylight, and there was the rest of them. And even as a bowler, he was an impact bowler. He took 235 wickets and under all playing conditions. And he would often break partnerships and could be a lethal bowler who has won many test matches for the West Indies. As compared to that, Jack Callis, as a batsman, his numbers are great, averaging in the 50s. But when he was playing the game, people like Sachin Tendulkar, Brian Lara, Ricky Ponting, and Rahul Dravid were way ahead of him. And as a bowler, he was a complimentary bowler, took 166 wickets in 291 test matches, which doesn't look like great numbers. And he was playing second fiddle to Alan Donald and Sean Pollock initially, and then later on to Mackay Nithini, Dale Steyn, and Mone Markle. So there's no real comparison except that the numbers are very close. So I would put this comparison to rest, and I would take a leaf from Australian fans and cricketers who are great students of Test cricket history and have maintained the legacy of the great Donald Bradman alive. The West Indians have to follow suit. The West Indian fans, unfortunately, don't have enough volume or a solid platform on social media. But I would request their Test cricketers, the great Test cricketers, people like Michael Holding, Brian Lara, Vivian Richards, Clyde Lloyd, and Ian Bishop, to step up to the plate and to heck with political correctness and to put Gary Sobers in the place where he belongs, the greatest of all time. Gary Sobers will be a legend and is irreplaceable. His relegation is not acceptable, and I think is reprehensible. He is not just West Indies' Gary Sobers. He's my Gary Sobers. He's your Gary Sobers. He's our Gary Sobers. He's Gary Sobers of the universe. Say what you. This is Dr. Raj Desai signing off.